could you take us through how you defeated Galactus? How we did?
Hey everybody, Colton here, and we finally know how Fantastic Four First Steps is setting up Avengers Doomsday and Doom's massive plan to take the reins of the multiverse from Loki. And it all starts with Galactus, the Council of Reeds, and baby Franklin Richards. And hey, a little later, I'm going to share with you guys the 6 Nexus Beings of the MCU multiverse that Dr. Doom is going to be hunting. But first, let's talk about this clip. So a clip from the film was released where we learn that Galactus is willing to spare Earth in exchange for the Fantastic Four handing over their newborn son, Franklin Richards. In the comics, Franklin Richards is one of the most powerful beings in the entire multiverse. He has the power to create entire universes with his mind, a power that could come in handy for anyone looking to bend the multiverse to their will. I mean, Galactus, he is a force of nature, and he's actually a lot like Alioth from Loki and Deadpool and Wolverine. Alioth being a giant purple cloud monster who consumes time and space, and that's basically Galactus's role in the cosmic food chain. Hell, he too has even been portrayed as a cloud. But we don't talk about that. Now, it has been theorized that like America Chavez from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, that like her, Galactus may not have any multiversal variants, meaning that he is the only Galactus in the entire multiverse. So this would mean that Galactus travels universe to universe, consuming planets and maybe even entire realities, perhaps serving as a necessary predator in this cosmic food chain to keep the multiversal tree of life in balance. We know that with Loki's multiversal tree, free will is allowed to exist, which means more universes can exist, but part of that tree of life is that unfortunately some universes do still die.
Waste my life watching it die slowly of natural causes. We used to just prune these things. Simple, elegant, efficient, but I'm told the TVA doesn't like to do that anymore.
Now, I have theorized before that one of the key reasons that the Fantastic Four don't exist in the Sacred Timeline, which was designed by the Kang variant, He Who Remains, is because I think that he removed the Fantastic Four from existence so that their son Franklin and his immense power couldn't undo He Who Remains' work or challenge his rule. And as we'll discuss shortly, Galactus wanting Franklin could be a leftover relic or storyline, if you will, crafted by He Who Remains from before the Sacred Timeline was broken by Loki. But here's where it gets really fun. What if a multiversal constant, an absolute truth, something that occurs in every universe, is the fact that Galactus always gets Franklin? What if every Reed in the multiverse always ends up handing their son over to Galactus, resulting in Franklin Richards never growing up and never realizing his great power? That is until now, when this Reed Richards refuses to hand over his son. And hey, special shout out to viewer Larry More or Less for this awesome idea we're about to dive into that connects this all to Dr. Doom and the post-credit scene of the film. And hey guys, by the way, be sure to check out our great Iron Man and Dr. Doom pointing meme shirt. It's a great shirt to have to wear to Fantastic Four, and then of course to Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So in a previous video, we discussed how Reed Richards is an extremely logic-driven guy. So when he is presented with the trolley problem of sacrificing his son's life or the entire planet and billions of lives, his logical response could easily be seen as deciding to give up his son, allowing for his logical mind to overpower his loving heart. Now, in that video, I went on to theorize that as this universe's Reed Richards, 828 Reed, has exhausted every alternative he can think of to defeating Galactus and saving the planet, he could turn to the only other minds in existence that could potentially rival his own in hopes of getting help to solve the equation of defeating Galactus. He will turn to the Council of Reeds, a multiversal group of Reeds like that of the Council of Kangs that we saw in Quantumania. Now, in the comics, this council is a very cold collection of Reeds who are honestly too smart for their own good. They are fully logic-driven and self-driven. They cause a lot of trouble for the multiverse and have largely rejected their families and only care about themselves. Now, I think that 828 Reed will discover multiversal travel in his attempts at trying to find a way to defeat Galactus. And that theory is supported by shots we've seen in the trailer, such as here where we see a drawing of a multiversal bridge on Reed's chalkboard. The same bridge that is used in the comics for the Council of Reeds to come together. And we know from Thunderbolts that the Fantastic Four's rocket does ultimately travel from their universe into the MCU. Anyway, once 828 Reed discovers multiversal multiversal travel, that is the moment that he will become eligible to join the Council of Reeds. In the comics, the Council of Reeds is only made up of the Reeds who are smart enough to discover the existence of the Council. So we'll see 828 Reed meet his variants, and he'll be happy to hear that they too have all faced this exact same Galactus, and that they have successfully saved their worlds. But he is then horrified when he learns that they all did so by handing over Franklin. So I think we'll see all of his variants make their very logic-based arguments for sacrificing Franklin to save the planet and the billions of lives on it, and they will act all nonchalant and cold about it, acting as if it's not a hard choice. And they will be of the opinion that a truly logical Reed who was smart enough to gain access to the Council should know this. 828 Reed will be disgusted by this council of himself that has abandoned the core theme of this entire film: family.
We will fight it together as a family.
828 Reed will refuse to fall in line with his variant selves, and he will refuse their thesis. And this will create the Nexus event that triggers the arrival of Dr. Doom. It has been long debated whether or not RDJ's Doom will be the Doom from the Fantastic Four's 828 universe. Some, including myself, have speculated that he might be from Universe 838, which we saw in Multiverse of Madness. But no matter what universe he's from, if it's not the 828 universe, then the question becomes, what is so special about this specific 828 Reed that ends up pulling him and his entire family into the chaos of Doomsday and Secret Wars over, say, any other variant version of the team? Well, I think the key difference that makes them stand out is Reed's refusal to sacrifice his son to Galactus. Now, unlike He Who Remains, Doom wants Franklin by his side, and he wants to utilize his power to bend the multiverse to his will. And Doom is likely of the opinion that only his guiding hand can save the multiverse. And this only I can fix it mentality is a staple for Doom in the comics, and of course that is a key trait of the MCU's Tony Stark. Now, in this theory, Doom has never been able to get his hands on Franklin because every Reed has always foiled Doom's plan by handing their son over to Galactus. Perhaps that was even a multiversal constant within the sacred timeline before Loki broke it and allowed for free will. And with Loki now being at the throne, perhaps that is what provided the ability for 828 Reed Richards to have the free will to choose not to sacrifice his son. And by doing so, 828 Reed has broken this chain, he has saved his son, and now without He Who Remains and his strict rules of what can and can't happen, we are now going to see what He Who Remains feared the most, Dr. Doom. And that is why the supposedly leaked post-credit scene description of Fantastic Four makes so much sense. The leaked post-credit scene description claims that we see Sue reading to baby Franklin after the team has defeated Galactus and all is well in the world. She turns around to grab another book, and while her back is turned, we hear the sound of a portal opening. She then turns around to see RDJ's Dr. Doom sitting with Franklin. And sometimes I wonder if one night while Kevin was sleeping, did he dream and see the universe where RDJ became Dr. Doom, and then he woke up and decided to make that a reality in this universe. We know that dreams are a key pillar of the multiverse saga, but they are also a key pillar to a great idea. And that is why I am so glad that I was recently sent this awesome eye mask from Manta Sleep. They are the sponsor of this video. Not only does this mask completely black out my vision, giving me the pitch blackness I am looking for when I'm trying to sleep, my wife is scared of the dark, so we always have to leave a light on. So not only does this mask solve that problem for me, giving me the dark room I'm looking for, but I also got these great cool eye cups that pair with my mask and they soothe my eyes and sinuses. Guys, it is summer and the days are longer, the sun is brighter, and while all that extra daylight can feel energizing, it can quietly sabotage your sleep. Later sunsets disrupt your body's natural circadian rhythm, making it harder to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. And that is where Manta Sleep comes in. Whether you're blocking out daylight or tuning out the sounds of summer nights, taking control of your sleep environment helps you get deep restorative rest no matter how long the sun stays up. This mask is super comfortable and it's adjustable. It has like this Velcro strap, so you can make it as big or as small as you need. I have a giant head and it fits great and it has a real premium feel. So I encourage you guys to visit the link down in the description below and use my code Colton, COLTON, and to get 10% off your order. Now, this entire multiverse saga has been about making impossible choices to save the multiverse. Trolley problem after trolley problem. Hell, even Across the Spider-Verse dove into this with canon events and having to allow people that you love to die in order to keep the multiverse alive. So I think the fact has always been that in order to prevent Doom from rising to power, Franklin Richards has had to die via being handed over to Galactus in every universe. But this Reed ain't having it. He is broke from that chain and he is not falling in line with the way things are supposed to be. And this is what will result in Doom finally getting that missing piece that he has needed to enact his multiversal takeover. But I don't think that Franklin is the only being that has come into existence following Loki's takeover from He Who Remains, beings that Doom is going to utilize to take over the multiverse. Let me explain. You see, I think Doom in many ways will be a reflection of the previous saga's big bad, Thanos. And this is yet another reason that casting RDJ was brilliant, because in a lot of ways, Tony and Thanos were a lot alike, going to extreme measures to save the world, their egotistical tendencies, and bumping up against or completely crossing that line into villainhood. And that is what Doom represents. So in that saga, Thanos was collecting Infinity Stones so that he could snap away half of existence and do what he considered to be saving the universe. I think Doom is doing something similar, only on a multiversal scale, and he isn't collecting Infinity Stones. He's collecting people, specifically Nexus Beings. Beings that don't exist in any other reality and are core pillars to their reality, like Anchor Beings, which we learn about in Deadpool and Wolverine. And I think that each of these beings that Doom needs for his master plan represent each of the Infinity Stones. Remember, Infinity Stones represent the necessary ingredients for a universe, so theoretically there would be something similar to that for the entire multiverse. First up, we have the Power Stone, and I think that this stone could be represented by Galactus, a very powerful force of nature and a necessary piece to controlling the multiverse as a consumer of worlds. Power is often used by tyrants to destroy, so with Galactus being an eater of worlds and likely a Nexus being, I think Galactus will represent the Power Stone. Plus, he's purple. Next, we have the Space Stone, which I think is represented by America Chavez, whose power is traveling between universes. The Space Stone, as we saw in Infinity War, was able to create these blue portals that could teleport you anywhere in the universe, and America's power is like that of the Space Stone, but on a multiversal level. I mean, we've already seen the Scarlet Witch attempt to take the power of America Chavez in Multiverse of Madness, so I could see Doom coming for her as well. Plus, we know for sure that America Chavez is a Nexus being in the multiverse. There are no other variants of her. And well, going back to the colors, her powers are in fact blue, and she wears that blue denim jacket, so Space Stone. Okay, now next, speaking of Wanda, we have the Scarlet Witch, who I think represents the Reality Stone. The Reality Stone allows for you to bend and twist reality into anything you want. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wanda has variants, yes, but I am not talking about Wanda specifically. There are plenty of Wandas. I am talking about the separate, multiversally prophesized entity of the Scarlet Witch that lives within the 616 Wanda Maximoff. Now, in this saga, we have seen Wanda manipulate and bend reality to her will, and as far as we know, she is the only Wanda in the entire multiverse to become the Scarlet Witch entity. Plus, you know where I'm going with this, her powers and her entire aesthetic is red. Next, we have the Time Stone, and this one has to be Loki. His entire series was all about time and the TVA, which is the Time Variance Authority, and he is currently sitting at the end of time, holding together the strands of time and reality. He is essentially the god of time, and he is sitting on the throne that Doom hopes to take. And like Wanda, yes, there are other Lokis, but this Loki is different, being that he is the only Loki to have reached this Nexus level of being. Plus, yeah, he's green. And next we have the Mind Stone, and I think this one has to go to Sentry. Now, Sentry is a super powerful character both in the comics and now in the MCU, but the super interesting thing about this character is his split mind and the void. The complexities of the mind are very intertwined with seeing the multiverse, and this all ties back to the void rooms that we saw in Thunderbolts and the exploration of the deepest crevices of your mind. And plus, he's yellow, got the blonde hair. And lastly, we have the Soul Stone, a stone that you have to make a great sacrifice in order to obtain. Now, as we discussed earlier, we think that all the Reeds throughout the multiverse have always sacrificed their son to save the world from Galactus. That would tie this 828 Franklin's lone existence into the multiversal sacrifice, or lack thereof. And this would make it to where the power of Franklin can now be obtained by Doom. And in the comics, Franklin is a Nexus being, and in this theory, if true, he would be the only living Franklin in existence. And you know, in the comics, his hair is kind of soulstone colored. Okay, so there's the theory. Galactus goes around universe to universe, and he always spares worlds with Franklin Richards if Reed Richards is willing to give him up. And perhaps when He Who Remains was still in charge, the only universes that existed in the sacred timeline were universes where Reed Richards gives up Franklin. But now that He Who Remains is not in charge and Loki is at the helm, 828 Reed can buck this trend and not make that sacrifice, resulting in Franklin growing up, realizing his powers, and being taken by Doom as the final piece to his multiversal gauntlet and paving the way for Doomsday and Secret Wars. But hey, those are just my thoughts and theories. I would love to hear yours down in the comments below. And hey, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, so you get notified every time we upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Colton Ogburn, and I will see you next time. Bye!
You're still here. It's over. Go home.